When most people think of honeymoon trips, they imagine sun, laughter, and the start of a lifetime together. But for Christina Maytina Watson, her honeymoon became one of the most talked about deaths in recent history. A death that sparked two criminal investigations, international legal battles, and decades of debate about whether her drowning was an accident or a calculated murder. This is the story of Tina Watson, a 26-year-old American bride who died on a scuba dive off Australia's Great Barrier Reef, and of her husband, Gabe Watson, whom many came to call the honeymoon killer. What happened that day in the October waters? Who was truly responsible? And why did this case take years to resolve? Here's the full truth behind the death of Tina Watson. Christina May Watson, but everyone called her Tina, was born in West Germany and raised in the United States. She grew up in Helena, Alabama, where she was loved by her family and had dreams of marriage, travel, and the life ahead. She met Gabe Watson while studying at the University of Alabama. Gabe was older, confident, and importantly, a certified rescue diver. Their relationship moved quickly. Within months, they were engaged, and just 11 days before her death, they married. Tina's father and mother were proud of their daughter. They looked forward to her future. They had no idea that the next chapter would end in tragedy. In October 2003, the newlyweds flew to Australia for their honeymoon. They joined a dive boat called the Sport off the coast of Queensland, headed toward the Yongala shipwreck, a popular dive site deep in the Great Barrier Reef. It was there on October 22, 2003, that everything went wrong. Both Tina and Gabe went underwater that morning. But within minutes, Tina lost consciousness and sank approximately 30 meters to the ocean floor. Other divers later reported seeing Gabe hold her underwater briefly before swimming to the surface alone. Tina wasn't brought up immediately. No rescue came. After about 10 minutes, another diver finally managed to recover her body and bring her to the boat. A doctor worked on her for 40 minutes, but she could not be revived. She was dead. At first, local authorities treated Tina's death as a tragic accident. Gabe told police that strong currents and panic had caused Tina to struggle, knock off his regulator and mask, and that he hadn't been able to get back to her in time. He said he tried to surface and get help. But from the beginning, his story didn't add up. Witnesses from the dive were asked about what they saw. One diver later said he saw Gabe holding Tina in a tight grasp before letting go and heading up to the surface. Another photo taken accidentally showed Tina lying face up on the seafloor, something that raised questions about whether anyone tried to help her. And because Gabe was a certified rescue diver, prosecutors later argued he should have known how to help. He claimed he was limited by an ear problem and by his training, but many who knew scuba diving found that excuse weak. In Australia, investigators charged Gabe with murder. The prosecution argued that he had deliberately caused Tina to drown, that he held her down, blocked her air supply, or allowed her to die for reasons we'll get to in a moment. Gabe repeatedly changed his account of what happened underwater, in total giving more than a dozen versions of the events, each slightly different. That inconsistency damaged his credibility. Defense lawyers said Tina panicked, that she may have hit Gabe's mask in the struggle, and that what happened was an accident, exactly the danger novice divers face on deep dives. Eventually, Gabe Watson pleaded guilty to manslaughter in the Australian court. Manslaughter is a lesser charge than murder, but it acknowledged that his actions resulted in Tina's death. He was sentenced to a prison term, but it was a short one, far shorter than what most Australians or Tina's family expected. The big question always was, why would Gabe do it? Prosecutors believed the motive was money. Tina had life insurance policies worth over $200,000. There was also valuable property and possessions tied to her name. Many argued that Gabe stood to benefit financially from her death. Tina's family, especially her father, was convinced that Gabe planned her death from the beginning. They pointed to his years of dive experience, his calm demeanor after she died, and the fact that he didn't immediately surface to get help for her. Gabe's lawyers denied any financial motive. They argued Tina's death was a tragic accident caused by panic and environmental conditions, not premeditation. The truth about the motive remains one of the most debated parts of this story. After Gabe served his sentence in Australia, he was deported back to the United States. When he landed in Alabama, prosecutors there charged him again, this time with murder and kidnapping under American law. Alabama authorities believed they could prove that Gabe intentionally caused Tina's death for financial gain and that U.S. courts could hold him accountable. But when the case went to trial in Alabama, it ran into serious problems. At the U.S. trial, prosecutors presented evidence from both the Australian investigation and newly collected material. They highlighted inconsistencies in Gabe's statements and pointed again to the possible financial motive. Still, the evidence wasn't strong enough to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that Gabe had intentionally murdered Tina. Without clear forensic proof of deliberate action underwater, the judge found that the murder charge couldn't stand. In February 2012, the murder case was dismissed due to lack of evidence. Gabe walked free beyond the Australian manslaughter conviction and returned to life in the States. Tina's parents continued to speak publicly, insisting their daughter was murdered. They fought for years to keep the case alive. They appeared on news shows, wrote letters, and kept the story in the public eye. Many true crime communities nicknamed Gabe the Honeymoon Killer and debated the case endlessly online. To this day, people are divided. Some believe Gabe is guilty of murder, that he used skill and planning to drown his wife. Others accept that it was a tragic accident, made worse by poor decisions and miscommunication underwater. But one thing is clear, Tina Watson did not die alone, and her death changed many lives forever. So what really happened off the Great Barrier Reef in October 2003? Did Gabe Watson kill his wife for money? Or was it a tragic accident that went wrong in the deep blue water? The courts in Australia convicted him of manslaughter. The courts in the U.S. could not prove murder. The evidence leaves room for doubt, and the debate continues among legal experts, scuba divers, and true crime fans worldwide. If you found this story gripping and want to dive deeper into other unresolved mysteries and controversial cases, make sure to subscribe to Truth Trove Stories. Thanks for watching, and stay curious.